You heard it before you saw it. That sharp, metallic shriek cutting through the morning quiet like someone threw open a screen door too fast. Then another, then three more in a row, each one louder than the last, and you looked up from your coffee, and there it was, a blue jay, planted on the fence post at the edge of your yard, staring at something you couldn't see, screaming at a world only it understood. Most people's first instinct is annoyance. The blue jay is loud, it is bold, it scatters the smaller birds from the feeder without apology. It takes up space the way very few wild creatures dare to in a suburban yard. And if you have one that visits regularly, you have probably wondered at least once whether it is actually a good thing, whether the jay is helping your yard or hurting it. That question has a real answer, and the answer will change the way you see that bird completely. A blue jay visiting your yard is not just a large, noisy bird eating your peanuts. It is an intelligent, social, ecologically complex animal, making a series of deliberate decisions about your yard specifically. Every time it shows up, it is running an assessment so sophisticated that ornithologists have spent decades trying to map all of its layers. It tracks food sources across seasons. It reads predator pressure the way an experienced naturalist reads tracks. It communicates threat information to every other bird in your yard, including birds it has never interacted with before. And the calls it makes, the ones that feel like chaos, carry specific decodable information if you know what you are listening for. By the end of this, you will know what those calls mean. You will understand why the jay clears the feeder when it arrives, and why that behavior is actually a sign your yard has something worth protecting. You will understand what it means when a blue jay caches food in your yard specifically, and you will understand the one signal, quiet and easy to miss, that tells you a blue jay has stopped treating your yard as a stop along its route and started treating it as home. If this is already making you look at the birds outside differently, hit the like button and subscribe, it really helps, and drop a comment telling me which birds visit your yard most often. I love knowing who I'm talking to. Blue jays belong to the family Corvidae, the same family as crows, ravens, and magpies. That family distinction matters more than most backyard birders realize, because it places the blue jay in the most cognitively complex group of birds on the planet. Corvids have demonstrated problem-solving abilities, tool use, and episodic-like memory, the capacity to remember not just what they cached, but where and when and under what social conditions. A blue jay is not simply a bird that found your yard. It is an animal capable of holding a detailed mental map of its entire home range, updating that map continuously, and making decisions based on information it has been gathering for months. The blue jay's home range in a suburban environment typically covers between 25 and 40 acres. Within that range, it maintains an intimate knowledge of dozens of food sources, dozens of predator zones, the location of every reliable water source, and the behavioral patterns of every significant animal, including the humans, that it encounters regularly. Your yard is one data point in a map that is far larger than your property line. When a blue jay arrives at your feeder, it is not just hungry. It is checking a location it has already evaluated and already incorporated into a spatial memory system that has been actively maintained across weeks or months. The question is not whether it knows your yard. The question is how it has classified your yard, and what that classification means for every other bird that uses the same space. Here is what almost everyone gets wrong about blue jays in their yard. The common reading is that the jay is a bully. It arrives loud, scatters the smaller birds, grabs the best food, and disappears. Cardinals that were settled at the feeder suddenly flush to the hedgerow. Chickadees vanish into the trees. The whole feeder dynamic collapses the moment the jay lands, and it feels like interference. It feels like an interruption to the peaceful yard you were trying to build. That reading is understandable. It is also almost entirely backwards. What looks like aggression is a behavioral pattern called dominance-based foraging, and in the context of a healthy, functioning yard ecosystem, it is actually a signal that your yard has moved past a threshold. Low-resource yards, yards with inconsistent food, unreliable water, and inadequate cover, do not attract blue jays as regular visitors. Jays are calorie-intensive animals. They require high-fat, high-protein food sources to maintain their body condition across seasons, and they are selective about where they invest their foraging time. A yard a jay visits repeatedly is a yard that has already passed its quality assessment. The smaller birds flushing when the jay arrives is not evidence of a problem. It is evidence of a functioning social hierarchy operating exactly as it evolved to operate. Every bird at your feeder understands the hierarchy. The chickadee knows it yields to the jay knows it yields to nothing smaller than a crow. These relationships are not random or chaotic. They are the behavioral framework that keeps the whole system stable, and the blue jay is not breaking that system. It is part of it. What matters is what happens after the jay leaves. If your smaller birds return to the feeder within a few minutes, if the cardinals come back, if the chickadees pick up where they left off, your yard's hierarchy is functioning well. The disruption was not a disruption at all. It was a pause. And that pause, that moment when every bird in your yard registered the jay's arrival and responded accordingly, is one of the clearest signs that your yard has become a real ecological community, rather than just a collection of individual birds sharing a food source. The blue jay is not the problem in your yard. It is often the most honest signal about the health of what you have built there. Now look at the jay itself, specifically at the moment it lands. Before it goes anywhere near the food, it pauses. It scans. The head turns in quick, precise increments, each stop longer than it looks, the eyes processing a visual field that is nearly 360 degrees. The jay is not just checking for predators. It is reading the entire social landscape of your yard in a single sweep: which birds are present, which are absent, where the dominant individuals are positioned, what the general alarm state of the yard is at that moment. This scan is one of the most sophisticated behavioral sequences you can watch in a backyard setting. And the fact that you can watch it, that the blue jay performs this assessment right there at your feeder in plain sight, tells you something important about the bird's relationship to your yard. It has not classified your yard as unsafe. An unsafe yard gets a much shorter visit, or no visit at all. The jay is comfortable enough to take its time, to conduct a thorough scan, to settle in and make decisions. That comfort is not accidental. That comfort was earned by your yard over time through conditions the jay assessed and approved. Watch for the moment the scan ends and the jay's posture shifts. The body drops slightly, the tail levels out, the head stills. That is the moment the jay has decided the yard is clear. And what it does next, where it goes, what it takes, how long it stays, tells you more about your yard's ecology than almost anything else you can observe from your window. The science behind what a blue jay is actually doing in your yard comes down to one concept: scatter hoarding. Unlike birds that consume food immediately at the source, blue jays carry food away and hide it, not randomly, with precision. A single blue jay can cache between 3,000 and 5,000 individual food items in a single autumn season, each one stored in a specific location that the bird commits to spatial memory and retrieves days, weeks, or months later. Researchers tracking individual jays have documented retrieval rates that suggest memory accuracy above 90% across hundreds of separate cache sites. That is not instinct operating blindly. That is active, flexible memory being applied to a real-world geography the bird has built inside its own mind. The critical piece for backyard observers is this: blue jays only cache within territory they have committed to. The energy cost of hiding food is significant. The risk of a cache being raided by another jay or a squirrel is real. A blue jay does not absorb those costs in a location it is unsure about. When you watch a jay take an acorn or a whole peanut from your feeder, fly to a specific spot in your lawn or your garden bed, press the food into the soil, tamp it down, and return to the feeder, you are watching that bird sign its name to your yard. It expects to be back. It has decided at the level of metabolic investment that your yard is worth planning for. This is the realization that changes everything. That jay you have been watching, the one that clears your feeder and disappears for stretches and comes back loud and takes up too much space, has been quietly, methodically building a food reserve in your yard, under the leaf litter near your fence line, in the soft soil at the base of your oak, along the root edge of your hedge. Your yard is not just a place it visits, it is a place it has invested in, a place it has committed future resources to, a place it needs to come back to. If you're finding this helpful, please subscribe and turn on notifications. I upload new videos every week and I'd hate for you to miss one. Your support is what makes this channel possible, and it genuinely means the world to me. Now, the calls. Blue jays produce over a dozen distinct vocalizations, and 3 of them are worth knowing because you will hear all 3 if a jay is a regular in your yard. The first is the alarm call, that sharp, descending scream most people recognize. Jays produce this call in response to predators, and research from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology has confirmed that other species respond to it. When a jay screams, cardinals flush, chickadees freeze, sparrows drop into cover. The jay has just broadcast a threat warning to every bird in your yard simultaneously, and every one of them understood it. That call is not noise. It is the yard's early warning system activating. The second call is the whisper song, a soft, complex series of clicks and warbles that most people never notice because they are standing too far away. Jays produce this call in low-stress social contexts, often when a mated pair is foraging near each other. If you hear it, the jay is calm, the yard is calm, and you are watching a bird that feels completely at home in your space. The third is the hawk imitation. Blue jays can produce a near-perfect imitation of a red-shouldered hawk's call, and they use it deliberately to clear competing birds from a food source. Whether this constitutes intentional deception or a conditioned behavior is still debated, but the functional result is unambiguous. The jay calls hawk, the yard empties, the jay eats undisturbed. It is one of the most quietly remarkable things happening in any backyard where jays are present, and most people who hear it assume an actual hawk just passed over. The yard the blue jay visits is never the same yard it found when it arrived. It has been mapped, assessed, cached in, called over, and incorporated into a cognitive world that is larger and more detailed than anything visible from your window. The jay did not stumble into your yard. It chose it. There is a longer arc to what happens when a blue jay chooses a yard, and most backyard birders never get to see it because they stop paying attention after the feeder visits. The arc goes like this. A jay finds your yard, assesses it, begins caching in it, begins calling from it, and at some point, quietly, without ceremony, stops treating it as one location among many and starts treating it as the center of its world. That shift has consequences that extend well beyond the jay itself. Blue jays are what ecologists call keystone foragers in suburban environments. Their presence actively shapes which other species use a given space and how safely those species move through it. The alarm call network a resident jay anchors is not a minor convenience for the smaller birds in your yard, it is a functional safety system. Chickadees forage more confidently in yards with reliable jay presence because the jay's threat detection range is broader than their own. Cardinals spend more time at exposed feeders when a jay has recently scanned and cleared the yard. The jay's dominance, the very behavior that looks like aggression, creates windows of relative safety that the entire community uses. Research on mixed species foraging flocks has shown that the removal of a single high-vigilance species from a community can reduce foraging efficiency across all remaining species by measurable margins. The smaller birds forage less, move more cautiously, and spend more time scanning and less time eating. A yard without a resident jay is not a more peaceful yard. It is a more anxious one. The peace you feel when the jay is absent is the peace of a yard holding its breath. What a jay builds in your yard over time is trust infrastructure. That is the only accurate way to describe it. The cached food is an investment. The alarm calls are a service. The territorial singing from your fence line or your rooftop is a declaration that this specific geography is occupied and defended, which discourages competing jays from moving in and disrupting the established order. The resident jay, for all its noise and boldness, is the bird most responsible for maintaining the social stability of the space you have built. Now consider what your yard needs to hold a blue jay through all 4 seasons, because that is the real test. Jays require high-fat, high-protein food across the year. Whole peanuts in the shell, sunflower seeds with the hull on, acorns if you have oaks nearby. They need reliable water, not just in summer but in winter, when natural water sources freeze and a heated birdbath becomes one of the most significant things in a resident jay's daily range. They need large shrubs or dense tree cover where they can cache food without being watched, because jays are aware of being observed during caching and will move a cached item if they believe a competitor saw the original placement. They need perch height, a tall tree, a roofline, a fence post that gives them sight lines across the yard, because a jay without elevation cannot do its job. If a blue jay has been visiting your yard across multiple seasons, across the quiet months when your feeder is less active and the natural food supply should be drawing it elsewhere, it has already decided that your specific yard offers something its larger home range does not reliably provide. That decision was not made in a day, it accumulated across dozens of visits, each one adding another data point to an assessment that was always more rigorous than it looked. The yard you are tending is part of a map inside a wild animal's mind. That map is updated every time the jay visits. Every time you fill the feeder, every time the water is clean, every time the oak drops another round of acorns into the leaf litter below, your yard earns another mark in that map. You will never see the map. You will never know exactly when your yard crossed the threshold from useful location to genuine home, but you will see the evidence of it if you know where to look. Watch for the moment the jay stops scanning before it lands. Watch for the whisper song in your hedgerow on a calm morning. Watch for the flash of blue disappearing into the leaf litter at the far edge of your lawn, the quick press of the beak into the soil, the return to the feeder empty-beaked. Watch for the way the other birds in your yard respond when the jay calls, not with panic, but with a practiced, calibrated response that tells you they have heard this bird's voice enough times to know exactly what each sound means. Those moments are not random. They are the accumulated result of a relationship between your yard and a wild animal that has been developing longer than you probably realized. The jay did not arrive loud and bold and certain. It arrived cautious, assessing, withholding commitment the way any intelligent creature withholds commitment to an unfamiliar place. The confidence you see now, the directness of its landings, the ease with which it calls from your fence line, is the behavioral signature of an animal that has finished evaluating and made its decision. Your yard passed, and that passing matters more than it might seem, because the blue jay that chose your yard is not just a bird using a feeder. It is an animal with a memory that spans seasons, a social role that stabilizes the whole community around it, and a commitment to a specific piece of ground that will persist through weather and scarcity and every ordinary disruption a suburban yard produces. It will be back tomorrow. It will be back in January. It will cache food in your garden bed and retrieve it in February and call from your roofline in March when the territory needs announcing again. You built something worth choosing. And the blue jay, in its loud, deliberate, entirely unsentimental way, has been telling you that every single time it came back. Thank you so much for being here until the very end. It means everything. If this video changed how you see the birds in your yard even a little, please share it with someone who loves nature. Check out the videos on your screen now. I think you'll love them. And subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one.